Hey everyone, and welcome back to another episode of New Windsor. So today we're going to be doing a lot of work in creating some new neighborhoods by New Belfast and the university. We're filling some gaps. First of all, we're going to fill this gap over here in between New Belfast and the mall and the hospital. This gap has been open for far too long. We're going to fill it today. And we're going to also fill this gap over here by the river and finally finish this area up as well. The whole peninsula is going to be done. It's going to be great. But yeah, here we are over by the first area by New Belfast. I've basically made this pretty basic road layout. Nothing too interesting here. It's somewhat, I think I based it off Hartford or something, but it's stuff you'll see like everywhere in New England, that sort of road layout. But I made an apartment complex right here. I'm using some of these King Leno apartments. I should actually have more of these downloaded, although I don't think I'm going to be using many more of them in the series because we're moving pretty far away from the city. Although a lot of the time you will find these sort of higher density apartments on some main streets in the suburbs. But this area is supposed to be a suburb in some ways, but it's meant to be basically a transition between New Belfast, the sort of old town, and the mall, which is whatever the opposite of New Belfast is. It's sort of weird that I put the mall so close to New Belfast, but the idea is that that area where the mall is not administrated by the city of New Belfast. It's administrated by the city of New Windsor or some other municipality that doesn't really care about historical preservation or anything. And that also New Belfast's main focus in terms of its development was towards the wharves and the water rather than out here on land. So it wasn't really that historical in the first place, but it's definitely not a part of New Belfast. That mall is a part of some other municipality, but we're definitely still going to transition into it by building some relatively benign suburbs here with triple deckers. So they're triple deckers, so that it's pretty high density, but it's not so I've been doing some off-camera work where I've been going around and trying to transition the suburbs out from the core of the city so that it goes from these higher density triple deckers out into much less dense, sometimes even single family homes. Well, single story homes. All of them are basically single family homes once you get that far out. But yeah, I mean, I'm just basically missing sort of bi-level houses. I think they're called basically the houses that have the door where you enter, and then if you go downstairs from that door, you're in the basement, and if you go upstairs, you're in basically the main floor of the house, like it's a ranch house, except on that floor that you enter in, it's just the foyer, there's nothing else there. I think it's called a bi-level, but somebody correct me if I'm wrong there. Those are basically common. They're all over the place in New England, in the Northeast in general. They're just everywhere, and there aren't really, I think there's like one in the workshop, but we're just gonna make do and go for some sort of less, I don't know, we're gonna have fewer bi-levels, or really basically none at all, because once again, there's only one in the workshop. We're gonna have different sort of houses as we transition out, but also that transition won't be the focus of the cinematics that we take here, because basically the main stuff in the city is all going to be in the city or on the direct periphery of the city, not too far out. We're just going to do very vague and wide cinematics of those areas that are sort of further away from downtown, because I want to focus on what we're building sort of closer to the core of the city, because that's where I'm putting all the detail in. Like you see all this detail behind those houses, it looks pretty good. But that's where I'm focusing all the detail, just sort of closer to downtown. So we're going to not be going very far outside of downtown a lot of the time. But actually, a couple of episodes from now, we are going to be working on some rural infrastructure that really needed to be done. All right, another thing I wanted to talk about is the music. So I've talked about the music for the past couple of episodes, but I want to bring it up again quickly because I've changed a little bit once again. So last episode, 2 episodes ago, we used exclusively classical music. Last episode, we used a combination of classical music and lo-fi music. And this episode, I'm just using, obviously, like the normal intro music, but just lo-fi music, which I usually do, but I'm using a different selection of it from Chill Hop instead of from Epidemic Sound. So let's explain this. So I've been asking for advice on like what to do with regards to the music, and this is sort of what I've gathered. Most people think that I should do a combination of the lo-fi music and classical music, but there are some people who are like legitimately turned away from the videos from me using classical music, which I don't want, and I understand that it's not a genre that everybody likes. So I understand that that's not an inevitable, or that is sort of an inevitable thing for some people to just be completely turned away by it, especially because it's so foreign to the City Skylines YouTube space. I guess Flux is really the only other person who's used it in the past, but basically right now I'm going to just use lo-fi music like usual, but just different and better lo-fi music. And in the future, I'm going to try to develop sort of a catalog of classical music that works better in the videos. You can't just choose any classical song that just sounds good to listen to. Like, I love listening to Chopin, but it's just not music that suits videos that well, or at least voiceovers like I'm doing right now, just having them in the background sort of distracting. So I have to find the right music to use. Maybe some 20th century stuff would be good, which I used last episode, but I need a wider catalog to start really using it consistently in the videos. So last 2 episodes were sort of a little bit of an experiment, and I'm currently going to stick with lo-fi, but just different lo-fi, and in the future I will hopefully have a catalog of classical music to try out again. I don't know when that'll be, but we'll see. And yeah, that's basically the update, which is sort of an update, barely an update. Not much new information there. It's just music. But I figured I'd let you know just what my thought process was behind that. And yeah, I think we're basically done with this little neighborhood over here. I think we're moving on now to that other one over by the river. So I mentioned, I think last episode, that this would be a relatively monotonous episode. We'd just be basically placing houses, but I still want to upload it because it's such an important area, or 2 really important areas that we're filling in today, that I didn't want to go unnoticed by you guys, because these are areas that are going to be key to the city, because they're gaps that we have not filled, but have been just sitting there for so long. And I guess the closure of just filling them and, making sure you guys know that these areas are finished, I thought was worth uploading the video for. And also, you haven't really seen too much triple-decker placement, but I'm generally going to try to do stuff like this where I just place houses off camera. I've actually been doing a bunch of off-camera work placing houses, and yeah, the houses, though, are so cool. Like, just this whole triple-decker pack is extremely satisfying to just place down here in New Windsor. Just my favorite thing about it is just the roofs are really nice, because the roofs on the other triple deckers I was using were just black, which didn't really look that realistic from above. And then also the models were like half as large, which wasn't too realistic either. It's realistic maybe in edge suburbs, but not in areas like this where it's pretty close to older development, and these are houses that have been around for a long time. It makes sense to have them be sort of higher density. So that's what I'm going for here. And I'm trying to fill the gaps in between them with these autumn brushes, sort of like I did in the last couple of episodes, where I'm trying not to fill every single space completely with trees, but just have these clusters, which actually isn't the most realistic thing, because it's more realistic to just fill these spaces with trees a lot of the time, because it's New England and everything has trees absolutely everywhere, to a degree that I think a lot of people who aren't from New England don't really understand. But like, I grew up there, and it's crazy the amount of trees that are there. And you put it in perspective, because here in California, like I'm in Southern California, it's so open, and you can just go to a hill and just look out at everything, and they're trees, but it's not like a forest of extremely dense foliage. But like, I had a friend from the Southwest come out to the Northeast a couple of years ago, and it felt completely claustrophobic, and it was pretty crazy, actually. And now I understand that, because it is sort of claustrophobic. Well, that's not the correct use of the word claustrophobic, but nobody uses that word correctly, so it doesn't matter. But yeah, I mean, the idea that it's really closed in with all those trees absolutely everywhere, and you'll be going down these streets that are just like filled with trees just all around you, and that's just the only thing you see, especially in more rural areas. And I mean, I'm gonna try to capture that to a great degree in the rural areas, but as we're sort of near to the city, I want to build, I want to work with these clusters here, because it looks better FPS, even if it's not the #1 most realistic thing. It's definitely not unrealistic, though, to have these clusters. It's not just, full-on dense foliage absolutely everywhere, no matter what, in New England, I will say that. But it's, I guess, a little bit lighter on the clusters, heavier on the, let's just go all out, trees absolutely everywhere instead. But yeah, here I'm using those rock decals here, which I've been using the past couple of episodes. They're actually doing wonders here. I really wish I figured out about those earlier. I mean, they've been in the game for a couple of years now, but just having them for this autumn detailing, they work really well specifically for that. And the autumn detailing that I do around here just looks absolutely glorious, and that's why I like to do these clusters. Like, it just looks so much better than just like using the tree brush to put trees absolutely just everywhere. And I'm placing a bunch of fallen trees and fences and stuff like that. Like, this neighborhood it gets a little bit more detail than a lot of the other neighborhoods that I make. That's just because it's right near this river, and it's going to be a beautiful, like, cinematic point. Just fly over this little area over here as I enter the city via cinematics. So yeah, I mean, we'll see. Hopefully you guys like the area as well. But once again, I'm not going to do too much of this like work that I'm doing right now on camera usually, because this is like pretty standard work for the series. Although a lot of this detailing with the rock decals and the nature is pretty new to the series. Like, I haven't done this before, so that's like another reason I felt like this episode was well, I've done it before, like not to this extent, so that's why I thought this episode was worth uploading. Like, I'm just using completely different techniques now. These cluster techniques with the tree brush, they look really good. I'm really happy with it. Yeah, I mean, I first learned to do clusters like that from Strict Toaster's Cedar Valley series, and they are like, they just make an area look 20 times better when you place a cluster down rather than just covering an area in trees. Okay, so right here we're working on a little strip mall, which I figured I'd add over here because we had a little bit of a space to fill. So I'm using some of these assets from a long time ago by Crystal Listo, I believe is how you pronounce the name. And they are assets which I really don't use often, even though they include a lot of shops that don't really exist elsewhere on the workshop. Like, I don't think there's a Goodwill elsewhere on the workshop in any other asset, or like a UPS store, stuff like that or like a Hallmark. Like, those don't exist elsewhere in the workshop. They just exist in this sort of pack here, which has a lot of different options. The problem is it's got these parking spaces out front that are just, they're terrible. So I figured I would just add it over there with this normal parking lot road and just add my own parking on the other side. But I think right now we're going to hop in game, take a look at what we just built, because I don't really have too much more to show you that's unique to any degree. It's just stuff that we've done throughout the episode, just continued. So this is going to be a shorter one, but it'll still be a nice productive video. So we're going to hop in game, take a look at what we just built, including the stuff that I'm just about to do off camera, and yeah, let's go. All right, folks, we're in game. Listen to the sounds. We have ambient sounds tuner, and it sounds absolutely awesome compared to the default sound pack, at least in my opinion. Tell me what you think, but I very much enjoy it. Like, the streets at least sound great. Yeah, here's this sort of main street leading to downtown. I like how this just leads directly to downtown, or at least points at downtown, so that I'm able to do this sort of flyover here. Sorry about the absolutely terrible FPS, but yeah, like, listen to this. Ooh, that's rough. What? That cyclist just got completely wrecked. Gotta love City Skylines traffic. I gotta get rid of this Prius model because it's really, it could be higher in triangles. That'd be nice. Like, this model right here is like the perfect balance. I like that. The pickup truck, stuff like that. But the sounds, like, they're so good. Okay, let's fly around some more. Oh God, well, look at the abandoned buildings. Oh yes, I love the city so much. Let's fly over here to what we just built. We'll fly all the way up. And yeah, here we go. This is the first area we built in this episode. I like this detailing over here. We're off the main street. Like, you can sort of see the houses, but there are trees there, but there's just some open fields and rocks, and it looks nice. I will say that. These models continue to amaze me. Yeah, this neighborhood, nothing too interesting. This is sort of what the road layout looks like from above. Apologies for not having shadows here, but yeah, the road layout looks pretty good. We've got this apartment building here as well, which I am definitely a fan of, and yeah, this main street. Let's go over to the other area we built, which is, you have to go this way. Ooh, that's glitchy. I think I fixed that in a later version of the save. Totally ignore that. Yeah, okay, here's the strip mall. The strip mall is pretty cool. You have this problem with cars being at ground level because the parking lots are included in the assets, and they don't look good. But the assets themselves are pretty satisfying just because the logos look nice, and it looks like a strip mall. So I am happy with that. This is sort of next to those university apartments that we placed in the last episode. But yeah, I guess this whole area, we've got like a little police station here, which I didn't detail too much, and then more houses, and then that's sort of what this entire area looks like, just a lot of houses. Let's go over to the river, though, because the river has some views that I want to show you. I like this detailing style because you can just like take a peek through the trees and just look at a house like that from the river. By the way, the river's flowing in the opposite direction that it should be flowing, so I gotta fix that. But yeah, like, look at that. You can just peek in there and see the house. Like, I just love that. Can you see one here? Yeah, you can look at that. You can see another house. Look at that. And go under the bridge, which I very much enjoy. And yeah, I mean, it might not have been the most interesting episode, but I think it was still an episode worth building because we had to fill this area. Oh, we're all the way back here. Wow. Okay. Yeah. So that's that area we filled over here towards the end of the episode, and then this is the other area we filled earlier on. And once again, these are like this is sort of the vegetation style. It looks pretty decent from above. We'll actually, I think we add some bushes in here in the next episode. The next episode, I actually make a brush, so that you'll have, I think, I might have shown it to you in the last episode, but it's like a forest brush that's like this. So you have the weeds, and you could place them one by one. I think I showed that to you last time, but I might not have, so yeah, but like that'll make detailing areas like this a lot easier. And look at that. It's coming together. It's definitely coming together. So this was a shorter episode, but it was also, we didn't get, I mean, we got a decent amount done. It just wasn't like the most interesting work to do, so I didn't want to have it drag on for too long. But there's a bunch of stuff I had to say, and I figured we did make some really nice neighborhoods. So yeah, I mean, hopefully you did enjoy this upload. If you did, make sure to leave a like. That lets me know that you enjoyed, and helps more people find the videos, because apparently leaving a like tells the YouTube algorithm that you should have the video be recommended. So do that. That would be great. You can subscribe if you're new around here. Hit the bell icon next to the subscribe button to get notified whenever I upload a video, so you never miss an upload. And I recommend, if you want to go fly around in New Windsor like I am right now, hop over on Patreon. Or if you just want to support me, or you want videos early, Patreon is definitely the way to go. But yeah, I mean, you can get early access to videos just when I finish them if you're a patron, or you could get the save game. You could get your name at the end of the video. There are all sorts of perks for patrons over there. My wonderful patrons who are very generous and allow me to spend the amount of time that I do just flying around in my virtual cities. which is a hobby that is basically impossible to explain to anybody who doesn't understand it. But I really enjoy it, and I thank my patrons for making this all possible because I am having so much fun. And then to also, obviously, anybody who views the videos. Just you guys just generally are absolutely amazing. I can't believe the channel's doing very well right now. I mean, I'm also uploading pretty consistently, but we're getting a lot of awesome comments. Like, I think there were 3 comments in the last video that were multiple paragraphs long. Like, you guys are amazing, and I definitely read those. I think one of them was basically suggesting a bunch of classical songs, which I'll definitely look into for when I decide to go and start using classical music again. But then I think another one was a story about Hawking University, and then I forget what the other one was, but lots of really thoughtful comments. So thank you guys a lot. And I mean, if you have any suggestions or if you want to just say hello, say where you're from or something like that, definitely leave a comment. I will be reading that comment. Oh no. Yeah, see, that's really bad. I fixed that in a later save. Don't worry about that. Yeah, you can follow me on Twitter. I post screenshots on Twitter every once in a while, but I mean, if you really want to see a lot of screenshots, photorealistic screenshots, just wait, let's get a photorealistic screenshot here. Wait. Let's go here. There we go. Look at that. That looks like a photo. That's the kind of stuff you see on my Instagram. I'll upload that on Twitter every once in a while, but mostly Twitter's for, I mean, what you usually post on Twitter. So if you use Twitter, you're not going to be getting, you're not going to be too surprised, but don't make a Twitter just to follow my Twitter. That's a terrible idea. Just stay off Twitter if you can. But that's about it. I've gone on for too long. I've I've mostly gone on for too long because these sounds are so good. The cars sound, I particularly like cars, at least to the extent that they've proliferated in the United States, but they sound really good in this sound pack, and I just want to listen to these cars. Look at that. Listen to that. Yeah, hopefully you enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next one.